Hello, friends from Arttour International Magazine. We're here in Marseille with an amazing co-creator, Lilou Mace. And Lilou is an author, journalist, a producer, and a host of the Juicy Living Tour. You are the co-founder of the Juicy Living 100 Days Challenge. And it's a community of about 7,000 members in 140 countries. And of course, the Lilou TV and web channel that has about, how many? 24 million. It's amazing. So I want to thank you, first of all, Lilou, for accepting, for joining us. And we admire you. You have been an inspiration for a lot of us for so many years, probably without knowing. I think the most important thing here is the message. I think we have a great community of artists out there that would love and would benefit so much to hear from you. So if we could start probably talking about your books and how you get here. How did you get to this point? Because it's a long ride here, and I have witnessed through YouTube, but a lot of people don't know. So if you could share about that, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very delighted to spend this moment with you and to have the chance to, maybe, somebody really needs to hear that and I'll make a difference in one's life. And I'm very happy to do it. And it's an honor to, because for so long I was close to fully opening up to myself. And now I feel very moved. I'm even, I'm really moved and touched. I could even cry right now because there's so much. It's so good to be free. It's so good to be ourselves and in our essence and expressing who we are daily. And I think it's what human beings are for, to be an expression, the best expression that they can be, but not as best, as superior, just as really the full expression of the beauty inside that we have. And that's related to me, to the heart. And my journey started I was very interested about personal development back in 2000 when I, after graduating from a business school and not finding a job, having conflicts with my parents, and then deciding to move to the United States because I have dual citizenship. I'm French parents, but I was born in the U.S. I thought, okay, I'm gonna move there because I don't know if this family is really the right family for me to grow, and I don't know if France is the right country. I felt too sensitive for France, so I said, okay, I'm gonna move to the U.S. and I was, I think, 23 or whatever at the time, and I moved there, but I encountered the same problems in the U.S. And I thought, okay, maybe it's coming from me. Maybe I have to do a little check-in there. And I did my first personal development seminar in January 2001. And there, a lot of things have opened up, and I start really to see that I was crying the second day, and I realized that I had never really wanted to cry in front of another person or be vulnerable enough and show all that. So that was really a first step at discovering, wow, I'm blaming my dad for abandoning me. It came out of my mouth like that. I would have never thought so because he didn't really abandon. But for a kid at 12, when the parents divorce and they leave, and so anyway, I was on this journey of self-discovery, and I wanted to discover more and more and more. And with two other friends, we decided to practice what we had learned in seminars and with coaching and all that. And we said we're going to start the 100-day reality challenge, and for 100 days we're going to practice it, and we're going to video blog. So I started video blogging about my own journey, and people start watching on YouTube, and people and I start receiving encouraging comments, and I'm like, oh my God, we have to really open this up for everybody. And because through blogs and video blogs, you could start to express yourself and have the feedback from others. And we're like, oh my God, this is really, really something exceptional here. And it's a great thing. And we were transforming our lives. And Oprah Winfrey was airing things in the US on The Secret, and people were trying to start to understand really the universal laws and the law of attraction, and there was all this. And eventually it led me to move from Florida. At the time I was in Florida since 2001, and I moved, so I lived there, Fort Lauderdale, beautiful area, but I was single, and I decided to go into a city, more cultural city. It led me to Chicago, where my inspiration, Oprah Winfrey, was living. And shortly after moving to Chicago, I had the privilege to meet her through a series of synchronicities, a magical, really way it happened. And I thought, wow, you know, on a soul level, I knew that it was such a good feeling. There was something in there that really triggered me, and I decided to start interviewing people. And then the interviews led to sharing in my books. Then once I started to lose my job, and then after that having no more money, to really dive into the journey of the deep journey of the reopening of the heart, because I found out through these interviews and in my own journey that this universe is really made of love. Love is the fabric, and when we reopen our heart, when we start to really be ourselves and be vulnerable and just let go of those hard moments and those experiences and the hardship, and start to take responsibility in our life and forgive and move forward, there is the magic, there is the real shift that happen. And the love then every day, little by little, takes more and more place, and miracles happen every day. And I'm a testimonial for that. I mean, you can clearly see in the books that there is one thing that led to the next. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but it means there is really, there's a less and less gap between your highest potential and who you are right now. It's like it feels closer and closer each time to something that is really fulfilling on a deep level. Nourishing, you know, really nourishing to the soul, because the soul wants to love and share and express itself and enjoy those moments. And I think artists can relate to that a lot.
And I read your book, and it's your diary. It's what goes on a daily life, and ups and downs and worries sometimes, and all these wonderful, joyful moments of creation, of manifestation. And there are so many realities in there that I identify with, like, you know, being an artist, and a lot of artists out there recognize this, is worrying about finances. You know, how to keep it up if you go to the computer and see your checking account in red. And there's all this maybe illness. So any advice that you can, any message that you can give us about how to get out of, you know, being stuck, because you made it, you stuck with it, you stuck with it until you made it. And once you finish reading this book, it's like, wow. But it took time. It was a process. Can you tell us about that?
It is a process. It is a process, and it's still a process. But my relationship with money has completely altered. It's like a paradigm shift. It's one from suffering, and my moods would depend on how much I have on my accounts. If I would be stressed, I would go shopping. It would be this relationship to money that is really difficult, takes a lot of room, took a lot of room in my head. And I had a very balanced, childhood, though. My parents had restaurants, and so they always worked really hard. So I had, we grew up with all those things around money. There's so many meanings around it, and who we are with money or no money, and this and that. And it came to a place where, I guess, after losing my job, and then after that finding out one day that I had no more money on my account, living in London, a magnificent city, but very expensive city to live in, where I didn't want to go back to my old job. So you have to then, you know, when you have a passion, and my passion was to upload videos on YouTube, I had already several million views, so I knew there was something. But how do you make of this passion a living? You know, how do you how do you go about it? And it rose a lot of fears around money, but mainly it came down to, who am I? If I'm not this little BMW two-seater that I used to drive, if I'm not this title of this director of marketing, if I'm, who am I? And I wanted to end this suffering. It's a choice to just end this suffering, and it went too far, and I decided to dive in the journey of what it would take to liberate myself from that limited view of life. I didn't know where it would lead. My strength was into sharing it on the iPhone and sharing the journey as it was happening. So that's why it's very real when we read it. That's why you're really there with the emotion, and that's what some people say when they read the book. It said, we felt your energy and something goes through. It's beyond the words, because it's exactly what happened in that moment of, I can only describe it as a reopening of my heart, because there was so much suffering that what I've noticed is that I was hiding behind the superficiality too. I was hiding behind the brands, or hiding or the shopping, the this and that. And I've always been a happy person, but there was this despair and this moments of loneliness and this looking for something outside of me that would love me. Ultimately it was that would fill that gap inside. So I discovered that it's really there is this, I wasn't giving myself the love. It was still outside, always outside, and we seek outside for fulfillment, when it's really as simple, but it's a journey of loving ourselves deeply, with even those worries coming up, loving ourselves, those guilts that we have, loving ourselves, those fears, loving ourselves for every step of the way, relearning to love ourselves. Because once we do that, it grows, and then it becomes an unconditional journey. And the more it becomes unconditional, the more we're in this gratitude. When we can find, and it's gratitude that really took me out of this vicious circle of finding gratitude for very small things. My mom used to tell me, you're always unsatisfied, you're always looking for more, there's never enough. And it's true now if I look back, though I would appreciate it in the moment, but I would quickly move on. And it's fine to move on technically, there's another future and there's other things. But there's this deep appreciation for a cup of coffee, for having a roof over my head. I had to go back to my parents, to be there with my mom, to have to solve the conflict that I had with her, because I had left for the US. So I had to go through all of it. But in the middle of, in the middle of all this, there is this start to spark. And I was praying, I was honestly, I was asking, I was like, bring on the guidance. So you go through these highs and lows, and it's normal. When we have the courage to dive into the journey of it, it doesn't have to be long and painful. It doesn't have to be that way, but there is a certain acceptance of the moment and a stop of wanting to fix it with other things. Like, I'll fix it by going shopping. Here you fully go into the emotion of it, and you feel it in the book. I go through I was so scared, panic attacks. And I even have the videos on YouTube in that moment where I was sharing my journey when this was happening. And I was like, oh my God, what? I can hardly breathe, and you stop the breathing and you don't know. And I've learned not to also make decisions from that point of view based on fear. So fear is not a good guide. and to wait that I felt better or a little bit relief before taking some decisions. Because sometimes when we're in fear, we're in panic, and we go back to our old job, we go back to our way, and then we continue to reproduce the same, or in a relationship with a different person, but it kind of looks a bit similar than before. So there is some healing, and really this is a healing journey to then be free, and to be just who we are. And once the heart and the love and this process of accepting when the negative thoughts start rising, and just being with a child that is afraid, because it's the ego, really, it is battling, that is uncomfortable. We're going to find out that there's a monster. We're going to find out that there's a monster behind all this, and there's going to be something really bad that we're going to find out about ourselves. That's what I thought I would find when I just accept it as it is and start removing the mask and having those conversations with the friends and telling them I'm going through a hard time, and choosing and finding the friends and just starting to be myself. Then something amazing opened up, and that was life. That's this change of life is not there to get me. Life is not there to get me, so that I have a hard time. And it's this shift of from a place of fear to a place of love. You either act on fear or you act from love. There's no, it's a variation of that. But once we're doing it from a loving perspective, even though if we don't know how it's going to look like, that doesn't matter. As long as we do it and we inject it with love, what we do, there is something that is gonna, create. People are gonna feel it. There is a response.
One of the things that you mentioned in the book is forgiveness of yourself and of others. And so, what message would you send to anyone out there that has a difficulty with this forgiveness? Because sometimes it might be something serious. It might be a child being abused, somebody being killed, There's really serious circumstances. And what message can we send them?
Yeah, that's a big one, and I've interviewed many people on this topic, and because it's an act of love. But when we forgive ourselves, when we forgive the other person, it liberates. There is a liberation, but these are tough topics, because it's like now I'm doubting and I'm being fearful right now of saying the wrong words because you said it was important. And but there is, I had to forgive myself, my parents, just by knowing that they are who they are. They didn't know. It depends. There's many levels to see forgiveness, from a spiritual level, but otherwise we're kind of prisoned. We're not hurting them by not forgiving them. I mean, they're who they are, and that person is continuing their life. It's us. It's all about us. So we're holding. We keep on hurting ourselves, like we keep on punishing ourselves. Like if we had, created that, there's so many, God knows, there is some things that happen to us that are so unfair and so just doesn't make sense. And why would a child, be abused? I mean, all of these things, and yet they happen. It's part of the society, and I'm not about positivism or closing really the eyes on things that go wrong on the planet. I'm all about sharing real circumstances of people that went through it. I find that super inspiring for people that were abused and are able to go through the same way than Oprah Winfrey. She was raped. She I mean, look at where she's at. Of course, it's probably still an issue she's working on, I'm sure. But she has little by little opened up and heard and talked with some other people and learned the power of forgiveness. These groups, or a person with a similar background, will probably hit a stronger note, on forgiveness, because there is some deep work to do. I've interviewed this French author, Jacques Salomé, that is very famous in France. He probably wrote 60 books on love, on the courage to be yourself, on forgiveness too, and how he advised, I remember him, it was on sexuality, and this woman, her husband was telling this woman that she had no sexuality, that she was, you know, probably frigid, you know, and all that, and she was feeling very like kind of abused mentally, and he advised her to write a letter back to him, and to give, additionally to that, to take she decided to take a Barbie doll and find an object that would represent, to give back to that person what that thing, because that thing, that little doll with the cross on the sex, represented to her giving him back the you know, on all this thematic of no sexuality. So she was giving back that to him with the letter, saying, this belongs to you, not to me. This is your issue. This was your problem. It takes a big soul. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do these things, especially, you know, the more hurt you were on. It's terrible. But you do that to free yourself up, to free your soul, to free it, and giving it back to that person with compassion, humility, love. I mean, it demands a lot. But it will free you up. The other person is not going to change because you're making them wrong. You're reducing, you're limiting your life. I think that behind every single challenge, there is actually something on the other side that is as bright as it was hard. So it's hard to see, but there is this equivalent. You know, this universe is in harmony. So there's something as beautiful and magnificent behind it. But until we're stuck in the challenge of losing our job, of having not enough money, of having a disease, of having been raped, abused, whatever, we're stuck in that. And we become victim and we lose our power. We're powerless. So behind those challenges, there is a huge shift. That's why I said I liked it. Yes. Not that it was, you know, I had no money and liked it. It was a hard moment, but I liked the lesson, the joy, everything that is behind that. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be that free and happy and joyful and living really on purpose and getting a real kick out of life every day. And I suffered. I had, you know, moments of total despair during my whole childhood. I probably was adolescent, I feel, for 25 years, you know. I'm 36 now. I feel like from maybe, you know, from 15 to from 12 until 32, 20 years, I was behaving like an adolescent, being really tough on my parents and, you know, making them wrong, and it's like incredible, all this anger and the thing that we can carry. But that's why I'm moved now to be able to just, you know, let go and be free to speak and to feel and to love and to all of it. So there is some huge, huge gifts behind that. How about just being willing, open to discover how juicy life can be, how amazing, just this shift of perception and this questioning. In fact, the beautiful things are in the questioning. It's not the knowing. It's being in continuously open to miracles to happen and to discover new things. From the moment we know, we stop. It stops. So you know, why not finding out something different and doing something, you know, different?
I read about being, doing, having in that order. And I think it's important. It is important. We all know it. It's there because we have that in the heart. Our heart is telling us to be, but we keep doing. And how was the process in you? How did you open up the eyes to that? I'm all about being now. So it's kind of even hard for me to go back 3 years ago and to remember. But I can remember, though, that I was into the doing, into just completely
I had a lot more masculine energy, you know, that we all have masculine and feminine energy. And I had a lot, I'm a powerhouse, you know, I have so much energy. I can move mountains, I can move walls, and I could conquer, I could bring sales, I could, you know, ask those questions. I mean, I've been raised independent, street smart. You put me in the street, I will make it, you know, I don't need you. I can make it on my own.
No.
Get out of my way. This thing is gonna work, I tell you. But I found out that I was actually trying to open closed doors. I was trying to open doors that were closed, and I was getting a kick out of that. That's one thing. But at one point, I discovered that I might as well open those doors that are presented to me, you know, that are open already, and just simply walk through. But the beingness, really the beingness, it's the beautiful little dolphins in Hawaii. When I did some interviews in Hawaii, they're the one that showed me that the beingness is the most important. By following our intuition, by going to a meeting, or responding to an email, or meeting that person, or driving 6 hours to do this interview, or there is something magic that happens once we don't exactly quite even know why most of the time, but we just do it. Sometimes I don't even know why I'm supposed to do an interview, and then I discover once I do the interview why. And there is this, just by showing up, the dolphins showed me to just be there, and from the moment we were there, then something happens. Something happens. It's not a question of doing at all. So now I'm not so much about just the list and the to-do list, and I have to do this, and though I do a lot. I'm a hard worker. I work hours. I mean, I put 2,000 videos online. It's a lot. Not with a big team. It's like it's a lot of work, but I do it from a place of love, of wanting to discover, or wanting to inspire, to assist, or to, you know, so the doing is there, but not with the same, you know, it's from my beingness of being in love with life, of being happy and joyful and empowered and inspired, and that then brings all the things. It's just being abundant. You attract to you the people, the solution, and the thing is that the mind wants to know. So it's quite tempting to think it's going to be because of that, but no, just the beingness in that high vibration, in the vibration of joy, in the following our intuition, then leads to something quite spectacular. Of course it's letting go. It's a lot of let go, but after a while, after practicing, it becomes really a habit. I set an intention in the morning. I set an intention before a meeting of, you know, I would like to have this really this joyful conversation that really inspire people, as we did, you know, at the beginning. And this actually creates a context, and in my book I share the declaration I created in 2003. 2003, I wrote all these things, and each time I would read a book, I would add this quote, and I create a document. And this document, at some point, was it 2004, 2003, 5, whatever, I was reading it every day. And it's like kind of a positive brainwashing, you know. It's things like I live in the context of love and miracles. I attract people that you know want to share, and this and that. And when I read back this now, it's all there. I mean, it's really, my life is like that. At the beginning, I was reading it and getting the feeling of it, and that vibration, if we can call it, brought so many things, not from the day to the next. Impatient is also, or wanting to know how it's going to come, is also a form of doubt. It's a form of doubt to be eliminated, or to be, thank you for sharing, but, you know, it's okay, we'll be okay. And then loving those aspects of ourselves that have the doubts, to let the life bring that thing that will be the exact. So then the journey is not so much like back, forth, up, down, and na. But it's more of a straight line, not as a boring straight line, but really, as Sonia Choquette puts it, traveling at the speed of love. It's like traveling first class, because it all, it's not with the detour of the doubts. The doubts brings us to detours. If we follow our intuition, and you know what? Life has its cycle. It has its ups and downs anyway. So sometimes things are not moving forward. There's a good reason for that too. Sometimes for those 6 months that I had to go back to my parents, things would not move forward for me. But it was because I needed to heal all this, and I needed to have this time to just relax and to learn about myself and all those things. And sometimes life forces me, when I'm out traveling, to just stop for a few days, because I have a tendency to, I want to interview people and this, and I'm out. But now I listen to those cycles, and then I just, okay, it's time to rest, and finding this perfect balance and harmony.
And I hope so many people read this book. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I hope so, because it's really opening up so many things in my life and friends of mine. And what's next? What's coming up next?
What's next? Well, after the Juicy Living Tour US in 2011, because after these challenge with money, then when I started to really healing all those aspects and loving and enjoying and being in the gratitude even for those small things, then I start to really living in that journey of the of the heart, and I decided to start the Juicy Living Tour. It was an expression of what I wanted to do, which is a 12-month tour at the time in 2011 across Canada, Mexico, and the US, interviewing people in their natural environment, in their power place, and that happened with the donations of viewers. So I thought, and everybody would think, and the general thinking in society, and that's where it's really freeing to live from the heart, because then it's out of those models, and that's where we create new and we pioneer things. Because out of that, then because it didn't felt right to find advertisers and sponsors and all this, I decided to put a donation button on the website and call it the Juicy Living Tour, and travel around the US. This was a TV show that I had proposed to the Oprah Winfrey Network, because my desire was to create a show for Oprah Winfrey and work with her. And I went through this audition. I had actually moved for 5 months to the US because I had to be resident to be part of this. Thousands and thousands of people all around the US participated in this. I decided to just go back to the US for 5 months and do this audition. And I ended up going all the way to Atlanta. There was 15 people. As part of my groups, we had 15 seconds each to share our dream. It's very short. And in that moment, I fell in tears, and I said, this is, it really felt so strong. I couldn't even find words how deep the love was and how clear I was on it's not so much the clarity, but the finding out that this is really what I want to do, travel, interview more people, and put this. And it was so strong that I couldn't in 15 seconds put it out. Plus I was afraid of speaking in public. So, if there was more than 2 people, I would be like, Wah! So forget it. I knew when I saw that it was not even one-to-one audition, there was no cameras. It was just really to share the ideas that we have for a TV show. And that was the audition. I'm like, forget it. But I went through it. I did it. And that's because of, thanks to that 5 months of, you could say, stagnation, because technically it was a huge quantum leap, because that's when I discovered the concept for the Juicy Living Tour. And then I said, I'm going to do it anyway, because this is so much what I want to do. And that's when I went out to the US beginning of January 2011 to start the Juicy Living Tour, place the donation button, not having the money, not knowing how it would unfold. I had basically $3,000 in front of me or something. That's not enough. And I didn't even know how I would line up those interviews. I bought a computer with a third of what I had. $1,000. I bought this Mac on the first day, on the 10th of January, because I started it on 11/11/11. 11 January, sorry, so 0111. I love the number 11. And boom, you know, the donation of the same amount that same night went in without doing a video blog or anything like that, but $1,000 were donated, and I would love to find that person, because it was, and I could probably look back at PayPal and find out actually, because that person made a donation of $1,000, the same amount of the computer. But I had to have the courage to take that first step and say, I'm going to do it anyway. I deserve this computer. I need this computer. And it was for a really good reason. But I took the computer and boom, it happened. But I found out that from that moment, I was really in my full dream. It was more vivid than ever. I had the courage to fully do it. Before that, it was more of a training. Before that, I was doing interviews on Skype and this and that. But once I start to have the courage to do it, interviews in person, which it's intimate, huh? Going to people's home and all that, it was a whole other level. And so the Juicy Living Tour was a full miracle for 12 months. Meeting Wayne Dyer, Neil Donald Walsh, Don Miguel Ruiz, just really amazing authors and people that are not known to, just really that made the shift, all of it. And one thing leading to the next, following the synchronicities, life, boom, boom, boom. One day in February 2011, at a seminar, a couple came to me and did a donation of $13,000. They wrote a check and they said our parents used to really hold, you know, we come from a rich family, and they were holding the money and they decided to write a check. I couldn't believe it. And it was just before doing the trip to California. So I needed, you know, kind of that money that I understood. They were grateful, they did it. And things, you know, have unfolded like that. $1, you know, ding, 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 it adds up, and it's everything. All I could change camera, I could travel, take the hotels, the flights, the car rentals. It's expensive. Learning, little by little, one interview at a time. The Juicy Living Tour became the Juicy Living Tour Europe this year, last year in 2012. So now we're in 2013. I started in April of last year, and I'll be going, you know, some of the next, I've done 13, 14 countries. Italy, Spain are next, and so many more. Eastern Europe too, and I want even to push it to Moscow and Russia, and, you know, maybe down. I mean, there's just no more limit. I have to really just call it the Juicy Living Tour instead of, but so there is that, and there is having the videos available in as many languages as possible. Italian for sure. I received an email from Korea, and these people just are now translating. The book is in the book is in Japan and in India. And it's just been like living a dream, but a dream that is very real. That is very, very real. So that's juicy, you know, because the colors are bright, and it's as best as I could describe it. And so now I'm started doing conferences, testimonials, meeting the people. I felt I was afraid of talking in public, but it felt really right in November 2012 to start doing that and to start meeting, and so now there's hundreds of people that come and come to those events, and I want to do them more and more. The same way that we're talking right now, just sharing and connecting and meeting with those 24 million people, you know, watches. Like, oh my God, how about meeting in person? I mean, wouldn't that be fun? And so that's what's unfolding, and I really let it now, and that's, you know, the be do have. That's again that beingness then brings the having, but is just letting it unfold. I do feel that yes, and I shared in my book that I want to inspire millions, and I let it unfold into, you know, possibly a TV show, possibly, you know, many other things. But the main thing is that I do it from this intention of this pure intention and wanting to help and be there, and letting it unfold and have fun in the process. And there is the healing that takes place all the time, and the journey is never done. There's always something we're working on. So we'll see where exactly it leads, but I can really see that it's something that is fun, bright, more beautiful, and even you know, that brings even more joy, every day. for me, for others. It's a co-creation.
Thank you. Thank you for helping so many co-create also that shift that you experience. And I think that's it's a gift you're sending out to the universe through your message, to the books. And I don't have to tell you, I don't have to tell them, you know, we all experience it. And I want to thank you and ask you if there's anything else that you would like to tell the public out there. Just, you know, one last word, whatever comes from your heart.
It's really just have the courage now. Yes. To do this jump. It's a step, and it's many steps, but this step of really wanting to live in this kind of, I guess, unity, you know, paradigm of going from a world of fear, competition, better than, less than, separation, feeling alone, to one of collaborating, sharing, working all together. These are nice words, but really it's for our own benefits too. It's like it helps the world, it helps humanity, but it helps us to live a better life. When we love ourselves, we create a better world. It's not an egoistic love at all. It's really the feeling of being content, happy, grateful, loving, kind. It's not superficial in any way. Maybe it starts a bit superficial if we have to try, but it's really this gentleness that arises, that if you have those doubts, if you have those thoughts, if you catch yourself saying, no, that's not for me, no, I can't, you know, it's for somebody else, or it's because it's her, or it's all of those are separation. If I did it, you can do it. It's time to see in others the greatness that we have in ourselves, and to stop to compare and just open the heart and hear this. So you might even want to re-listen to this with fully open and just absorb the beautiful energy of this conversation, you know, because you otherwise, without the mental running the show, and start to view life, the sunset, the people, our friends, our loved ones, a book, a show, not from the critical, judgmental separation, but just really with the gentleness and the openness, and without no barrier, turning off the mental and listening. And there you benefit fully of the other person, what they're bringing. And right now my heart has been fully open during the whole conversation. So I could tell you that there is a lot to take, a lot of beautiful energy to take from it. And then you just feed, you just effortlessly, you know, blend into it and allow. And then you will know, even if you don't know the next step and the following, one step at a time, it will make sense. But if you do it, please, whatever you do it from the love, doing with passion, as the Italians know more than anybody, with passion and love, not the conquering or just the love, and things will really really take place on its own, by itself, and it's a magnificent journey.
Yes, indeed. Thanks so much, Lilou. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And this was an heart-to-heart interview with Lilou, and we love you. Yes, heart-to-heart. And you're going to be featured also in our magazine, so don't miss the article. It's going to be wonderful, and we'll have a few of behind the cameras photos also, so for you to share. And thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks from the heart. Thank you.